We are certainly working very hard to realize our targets.
New details are announced as Canada prepares for its first wave of Syrian refugees.
Do not let any public in! Do not let any cars in the line!
Taxi drivers clogged Toronto streets to protest against the unenforced regulation of UberX. German Chancellor Angela Merkel is named Time magazine's Person of the Year. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Christina McAllister, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. New details are emerging today about the Canadian effort to bring Syrian refugees to Canada. The first flight is expected to land in Toronto tomorrow. Together,
We are certainly working very hard to realize our targets.
In a news conference today, the Minister of Immigration said about 12,000 refugee applications have been received already. More than 1,400 permanent resident visas have been issued. John McCallum said the refugees will be coming on charter flights and military planes from Amman, Jordan. As many as 700 refugees a day are expected at Pearson Airport. The infield terminal has been redesigned to process them when they arrive. He also says the government is increasing funding for resettlement centers by 25%. About 10,000 refugees should arrive this month. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is expected to announce more details later today. Tempers flared this morning during the big protest of Toronto cab drivers. Thousands of taxis converged on downtown to protest against UberX. Amateur video caught this confrontation on Bay and Queen Street this morning. The Woodbine Centre was one of the gathering spots today for the cabbies' protest. Humber reporter Nicole Williams was there and has this report.
In the misty light of early morning, hundreds of Toronto cabs gathered at Woodbine Shopping Centre. Taxi drivers were there to protest against the unregulated operation of UberX. It was one of several protests that took place across the city of Toronto. Earlier this fall, City Council passed a bylaw allowing UberX to operate in Toronto, but under the conditions of driving with the same licensing rules that govern the taxi industry. City Council asked Uber to suspend its services until the rules for sharing the road had been established. But Uber has continued its services, and taxi drivers say they're angry at the city and Mayor John Tory for not taking action.
And we didn't want to do this. We have no choice, but we have to do this. This is a must. And we will do this until John Tory resigns or the Uber is out of the city of Toronto.
Taxi drivers say the purpose of this morning's demonstration is to congest Toronto's busiest roadways. They say that's the only way their voices can be heard.
And these people, they are frustrated. Their livelihood is at risk, and that's why they are here to show the public and show the politician that they are tired of having double standard, one for the poor and one for the rich.
Taxi drivers also say that their incomes have been cut up to 50% since the introduction of Uber. Taxi drivers say if they have to share the road with Uber drivers, that they want it to be done fairly. If Uber wants to play, they've got to play by the rules. Nicole Williams, Humber News.
Time magazine has announced its Person of the Year for 2015. It's German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Merkel is being awarded for her resilience and leadership in the face of the Syrian refugee crisis. She is the fourth woman to be named Person of the Year, the first in nearly 30 years. Rounding out the top three were the leader of the militant group ISIS and U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump. Toronto police have arrested 2 people in connection with a multi-million-dollar pyramid scheme. At a news conference this morning, police revealed that they launched an investigation in 2013 against a company called Banner's Broker. They say by 2012, more than $93 million had been obtained from participants. Police say funds were funneled to a number of offshore accounts.
The accused, Rajiv Dixit, 45 years of Vancouver, British Columbia, and Christopher George Smith, 45 years of Toronto, Ontario, were arrested at 52 Division.
The accused are facing 5 separate charges, including fraud and money laundering. Police in Paris have identified the 3rd gunman in the Paris attacks, a French citizen who left Syria in 2013. Police say the information came after a text message was sent to his mother announcing her son's death. The mother gave a DNA sample to police who were able to identify the man. Police say the development supports the theory that the attacks were carried out by Europeans trained by the militant group ISIS in Syria. Meanwhile, Russia has donated a gift to Paris as an act of solidarity. This puppy was given to replace a French police dog named Diesel, who was killed during a raid targeting the suspected mastermind of the attacks. The puppy is named after a knight in a famous Russian folktale. Dozens are dead after an attack on an Afghan airport. Taliban insurgents have taken responsibility for the attack and released a video threatening U.S. President Barack Obama.
We are not safe in Afghanistan. When they go anywhere, we are kill them there.
A man in the video says, "Obama, you are not safe in Afghanistan," and threatens to attack and kill him. The video was released right before the attack on the Kandahar airport, which is one of the most heavily protected bases in the country. The attacks killed 37 civilians and wounded 35. Russia's defense ministry has released a new video of the country's air campaign in Syria. The video shows Russian fighter jets targeting buildings with airstrikes. Russia's defense minister says over the past 3 days, the Air Force has flown more than 300 sorties over Syria, striking over 600 locations. Russia began intervening with Syria's civil war at the end of September in support of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The attack included the launch of a new cruise missile from a Russian submarine in the Mediterranean Sea. China's air pollution has gone so bad that the nation's capital has issued a red alert. The weather is currently projecting more than 3 days of severe smog. Schools and factories are closed, and there are restrictions in place that are keeping over 50% of the city's vehicles off the road. This is the second time this month that Beijing is experiencing such high levels of smog. China's government is vowing to punish agencies that fail to implement a pollution energy response plan. The fallout from Donald Trump's latest remarks has made its way to Toronto. A city councillor, Josh Matlow, wants to take the Trump out of Trump Hotel and Towers. Matlow tweeted out his plans for protests and says that Trump is a fascist. He says to have Trump's name on the Toronto skyline supports hateful views. The company that owns the building says Trump's opinions as a private citizen are not a reflection of the company or its investors. Donald Trump's comments this week sparked an uproar with Humber College students. Our reporter, Dominic Losciavo, has more on the story.
Donald Trump has caused some major controversy earlier this week, stating his desire to ban all Muslims from entering the country. Councillors from Toronto and Vancouver had expressed their desire to remove his names from the Trump Tower. We took to the halls of Humber to see students' reaction.
They've already been named after him for quite a while, so I mean, it's not going to change much by changing the names.
Yeah, like they should take it down because we shouldn't be supporting something that's choosing to do something so negative.
No, then there'd be a lot of paperwork.
To be honest, I don't see the connection between his entrepreneurship and his political campaign. Those are two different worlds.
Honestly, no, because it is his company, so they wouldn't have anything to do with that.
I think he's just extremely racist, and he doesn't really know what he's talking about. And it's obvious because people want his name off his tower, and the fact that he's just very anti-Muslim, it doesn't really make him a good candidate for the presidency.
He sucks. Like, he has too much money, so because of that, he feels like he can say anything and get away with it.
To be honest, I just feel like he's a bad person because he's promoting like a lot of negative stereotypes.
Racist. Just plain out racist.
If we want to teach our future generations this kind of things, it will happen like disaster.
It's kind of sad that even though we're in 2015 where everything's supposed to be equal and good, we're still having to deal with such silly situations like these.
Although students had strong opinions on Donald Trump, most say that his business and his politics can be kept separate, and that his name should remain on the towers. Dominic Losciavo, Humber News.
When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Laura De Silva will have your 3-day forecast.
It's a lovely day out here. It's 9 degrees, and I'll have your full 3-day forecast coming up after the break. It's just a beautiful day to go out there and explore nature.
We've all got our favorite holiday traditions, and the window displays of some of the most famous stores in New York City are among the best. The annual tradition was started by Macy's in 1870, and this year Charlie Brown inspired the department store's Christmas display. Lord & Taylor lined its windows with a sweet shop and gingerbread kingdom. Bloomingdale's took on a Star Wars theme to dazzle window shoppers. We'll take a short break, but for now, check this out. A South Korean aquarium is welcoming the holiday season in a fin-tastic way. A diving Santa entertained crowds while swimming with more than 20,000 sardines and a few curious sharks. Visitors were in awe as Santa danced and pranced with the fish. Talk about a fishy experience.